Hello everyone, I'm Katrina and today I'm going to be talking about some of my favourite series. If you didn't see my video yesterday, I talked about some of my favourite standalone books, so I will link that in the description box. But it's been a few years since I did my first favourite series and standalone videos, so I decided it was about time to do a bit of an update because I've read some fantastic books since then. I will be talking about some of the same series in this video that I mentioned in the one I made a couple of years ago, but if you do want to have a look at that older video, I will also leave that linked in the description. Before I get started, I also thought I should mention that I'm not going to be including any series where I've only read the first book because I feel like I can't really make a better judgment on the series as a whole if I've only read one of the books. So I'm not going to be mentioning any of those, but I feel like I need to give an honourable mention to these two books because they are first in a series, but the sequels don't really have an expected publication date yet, so who knows when they're coming out, but they were absolutely fantastic. Those books are Vicious by V.E. Schwab and Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Absolutely loved both of these books, would highly recommend, and hopefully the sequels come out at some point so I can continue on with the stories because I'm getting a little bit impatient. Now let's jump into some of my favourite series. This one is pretty much a given, but the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, and that's heavy, so I'm gonna put that back down. The Harry Potter series is just so magical and full of adventure and wonderful friendships, and honestly it was just such a huge part of my childhood that I can't not mention it. It will forever be one of my favourite series. Speaking of childhood favourites, we have The Song of the Lioness Quartet by Tamora Pierce. This is a fantasy series that follows Alana, who trains to become a knight, but in order to do so she has to pretend to be a boy. This was one of the first series that I read when I was younger and absolutely fell in love with, and I just think it was just so important to me, especially because it had such a strong female main character. I recently reread the series and I'm pretty sure it was in the second or the third book, but it has come to my attention that this does have a bit of the white savior trope coming to the rescue of the darker skinned society. So I wanted to mention that, but this series just holds a special place in my heart, just partly because of the nostalgia factor and how much I absolutely loved it when I was younger. The Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. This is one of the first dystopian trilogies that I read, and to be honest, nothing has really topped it since then. Once again, I love the strong female lead throughout this series. I also just love how much action is packed in these books, and I think I'm one of those few people that didn't mind Mockingjay. A lot of people kind of hated the last book, but I kind of liked it. I'm kind of tempted to reread the series to see if my opinions are the same on the last book, because I don't think I've actually reread the last book. I know I've reread The Hunger Games, possibly Catching Fire. The Assassin's Curse duology by Cassandra Clarke. This is a fantasy series. In it, we have an assassin who is sent to kill a pirate, but something happens and they end up being cursed and pretty much are inseparable. They're joined together, they can't really do anything about it. I really enjoyed the fantastical elements in this book as well as the setting, and I also really appreciated how the romantic element is such a slow burn. It's not overtaking the story in any way, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't actually appear really until the second book, which was wonderful. I've done a spoiler-free series review of both of the books as well, so I'll leave that linked down below if you want to know more of my thoughts. Full Metal Alchemist by Hiromu Arakawa. This is a manga series, and so far I've read volumes 1 through 12. In this world, alchemists have the ability to manipulate the elements, and one of the main characters is called the Full Metal Alchemist, and that's because one of his arms and one of his legs is made out of metal. This series is just so incredibly entertaining. I absolutely love the humor in it as well. I really enjoy the art style. I just absolutely love the adventures that these characters go on. It's just so much fun, and I absolutely fly through these when I read them, and eventually I hope to watch one or both of the anime series too. The Codename Verity duology by Elizabeth Wein. These are set during World War II and they're almost companion novels. They are connected in some way, but the main characters are different in the first book and the second book. I read the physical book for Codename Verity and actually listened to the audiobook for Rose Under Fire, and the narrator did an absolutely incredible job. She was amazing. She really managed to capture all of the different accents well and distinguishing between all of the characters that we meet. Being set in World War II, you know it's going to be emotionally draining, so prepare yourselves for that. But I just connected to all of the characters so much, and throughout both of the books I was just wondering what the outcome of their story would be. The Death Note manga series by Tsugumi Oba. This was absolutely incredible. It's about a guy named Light who stumbles across a death note, and essentially if you write a person's name in the death note, they end up dying. I've also watched about the first half of the anime series, also really enjoying it. The characters in this one have really fascinating arcs. Seeing the progression of light throughout the entire series was just so interesting. My favorite character is definitely Elle, who is also a really interesting and unique character. Elle is the person who's trying to uncover the identity of whoever is causing all of these deaths through the Death Note. So seeing the back and forward between Light and Elle was just so entertaining. I absolutely love these and definitely hope to reread them at some point. The Illuminae Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a science fiction companion series, so the books are linked, but the main characters in Illuminae are not the main characters in Gemina, and I'm assuming in the third book we will also be following a different set of main characters. But the really interesting things about these books is the format. So it's essentially a dossier of emails, video transcripts, instant messages. It was just so unique and I found it worked really well with the story. Both of these books just blow my mind. The intensity increases throughout the books and you think it can't get any more intense and mind-boggling, but then something happens and you're just blown out of the water. There's so much tension and I love the action that we see in both of the books. I've listened to Illuminae twice, one of them on audiobook, and the audiobooks are phenomenal. They have a cast of narrators, so each different character has a different narrator. The sound effects are amazing, and at this point I have done a review of Illuminae, so I'll link that down below. I don't yet have a review of Gemina, but at some point in the future I hope to do so. Next we have the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. This is a sci-fi retelling series. In each of these books we meet a new main character and essentially kind of see a new retelling. So in the first one, Cinder, we have Cinderella, then Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White. I think my order of favorites in this series goes Cress, Cinder, Winter, and Scarlet. And I'm fairly sure that I've done a review of Cinder many moons ago. It's a very old review, but I will leave that link down below as well. This was just such an enjoyable series. I loved getting to know each of the new characters. I found that their different story arcs were really entertaining and I was just connected to each of them, and the romances that we see in here as well. Oh my goodness, Captain Thorne. Damn. But most of all, I liked how these weren't necessarily like strict retellings, but they were more reimaginings. You can see the loose ties here and there, but it wasn't blatantly obvious a lot of the time. I just liked how it inspired a lot of the events in the characterization. The last series that I want to talk about today is The King Killer Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. Hands down my favorite series of all time. This follows a man and wizard named Kvothe, and it follows him throughout his entire life. We meet him when he's quite young and then continue as he goes to university, learns how to harness his magic, and goes on lots of adventures as well. In this series there isn't constant and intense action, but it's definitely more character driven, and I really enjoy my character driven books. I'm just so intrigued by Kvothe's life story and want to know what happens, because at the very beginning of the story you find him working as an innkeeper, but there's so many myths and legends surrounding him that you want to know what the events were that led up to him being such a famed person, and now he's an innkeeper and kind of being really secretive about his identity. I am eagerly anticipating the third book. Who knows when it's coming out, but I need it soon. I have done a review of The Name of the Wind on my channel, which I will link down below. I have not done a review of The Wise Man's Fear, but eventually when the third book has a publication date, I will be rereading the series, and at that point I will do a review of the second book. Also, as a bit of a side note, for those people who keep commenting saying that I'm pronouncing Kvothe's name wrong, I did look up an interview with the author to see how he pronounced it, and he has commented on my review saying I'm pronouncing it right. So just letting you know, his name's a tricky one, but I looked it up. So those are some of my favorite series. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and thanks for watching. I have a lot of series on my shelf that I haven't yet started, but I know that I'm really going to enjoy them. So I would absolutely love to hear any of your recommendations. If there are any that I do own that pop up a few times, I'll probably bump those higher up on my TBR pile. But feel free to share any of the recommendations that you have in the comment section below, and I'll see you tomorrow with a new video. But until then, I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye!